Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. How do I look right now? You okay? Not okay. Definitely not okay. But now I want you to reflect on, how did I look yesterday? Better or worse yesterday? I would like to describe myself as a healthy sleeper. I've never needed to use earplugs or take chemicals and so on. On Sunday, November 20th, I'd taken the red-eye flight from Toronto to Port of Spain. So that night was an interrupted sleep on the plane, obviously. And the entire time I was in Trinidad, there were mosquitoes that were breeding in my room. They had a very healthy source of energy, so they were breeding in my room, under my bed, in my suitcase. And when I came back, then for 2 weeks essentially, our kids have had the flu. When I came back from Trinidad, Shuk had just thrown up, so he was at home 1 week. Vyasa was at home 1 week, so they came into the room many times while I was sleeping. Yesterday, I woke up at 12:30 a.m. Yesterday meaning not today, isn't December 8th, on December 7th. And I just stayed awake. I slept 1 hour yesterday and just stayed awake for meaningful mornings and so on. And this was a great revelation for me about habit. How in 17 days, only 17 days, I counted it out, that for 17 days I never slept a full night. And so even when there is no disturbance from a mosquito or a kid, I had developed the habit to wake up. And so this revelation for me is to be extremely careful about what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking. This I'm sharing with you experientially. And this too shows the importance and the impact of meaningful mornings. This is not 17 nights. We are on morning 842. Habits are real. Bad ones like not sleeping well. Good ones like keeping Sri Krishna in your mind, in your heart. Social scientists are encouraging us to be more authentic and deep. Who is one of the original social scientists? Sri Krishna. He's sharing, stop living for those who are great. In the happiness series, I described them as successful. Start living for the greatest, those who are meaningful, and then go beyond to God. Chapter 10's verses 21 to 38 share 65 practices to be more authentic, to be more deep. Before Sri Krishna begins to share these pointers, I'm reading to you verse 20, just the translation. I am the self, O Gudakesha, seated in the hearts of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and also the end of all beings. Now that he's completed these practices, that was the prelude to this, now in verse 39, the exact same message was shared. Again, the translation. And whatsoever is the seed of all beings, that also am I, O Arjuna. There is no being, whether moving or unmoving, that can exist without me. I'm trying to point out how systematically Sri Krishna is teaching. He's God and is coming down to hold our heads and direct us to the greatest. And now he's zooming out again. If these technicalities are not moving for you, let me give you some visualizations before we get into verse 40, which is really a copy verse of verse 19. 19 and 40, the same. 20 and 39, the same. And what's in between? All of these practices. The visualization, our propensity is to see the waves. All those who came to Trinidad, you felt those waves, yes? I have to digress here about how loving God is. There is 87 of us that are swimming and sitting in Maracas Bay. I'm one of the first people to go into the water, and I have my sunglasses on. They're prescription sunglasses. I got these days after I completed my Vedanta course at Sandipani. So that's September of 2007. As soon as I get into the water, the first wave, glasses gone. Somewhere in Maracas Bay. And they're prescription glasses too, so I need them. After that, another seeker loses their glasses, and another seeker loses their glasses, and then my glasses came back. This is the Caribbean Sea, where there's all of these waves, and a seeker had found my glasses. This happened on this yatra, the previous yatra, and so I was sharing with all of the seekers, the greatest insurance is God. I have a better insurance policy than you do. Our propensity is to see the waves, but with knowledge, you know that those waves are really the ocean. With more knowledge, you know that the ocean is water. Now, most of us don't see waves in the ocean every day. I live in the Midwest. Not a lot live on the coast. So here's another visualization. Our propensity is to see colors. The rainbow. But all of those colors are really white light. White light, when it passes through a prism, becomes a rainbow, correct? But when you have more knowledge, light is not white. Light is colorless. You can't see pure light. But we all know that there's light, correct? There'd be no meaningful mornings if there was no light. We do live by wave, ocean, water, rainbow, white, colorless. We live like this, but we do it in an extrovert way with physical circumstances. This chapter is training us to do this in a more meaningful way. Verse 19, again, I'm going to read it to you so you see the similarity with verse 40. A large portion of chapter 10 is Prince Arjuna speaking. Shri Krishna responds with verse 19. The blessed Lord said, Alas, now I will declare to you my divine glories, imminent in their prominence, O best of the Kurus. There is no end to the details of my extent. Verse 40. Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa esha tu deshatah proktaha vibhutir vistaro maya. Reading this in English, just the translation. Try to feel 19 being matched with 40. There is no end to my divine glories, O Parantapa. But this is but a brief statement by me of the particulars of my divine glories. So Shri Krishna shares, I am God. I will try to help you to feel this by sharing some of the greatest. And then he shares the greatest, and now he's coming back out. These are some of the greatest. Try to feel God. Swami Chinmayananda shares this so beautifully. These enumerations of the transcendental glories of the eternal were actually started in this chapter in a cry of intelligent despair at the magnitude of the task and at the frailty of the language to express them. And yet, out of sheer love for the disciple, the eternal master in Krishna took up the job in hand and tried to make the best out of a bad job. And Shri Krishna shares here, there is no end to me. A trigger reflection that should happen in our heads and our hearts is, if there's no end, please share in the chat. That also means there's no share. Beginning. Very good. Now this should trigger another reflection in our head and heart. If there's no end, then there's no beginning. If there's no beginning, that means Sri Krishna is. The first pointer he shares, I am Vishnu. Vishnu literally means the one who has entered all. But the trigger reflection is the one who is all. The final reflection on how to practice this. The happiness series is about practice. Meaningful Mornings is about practice. If you don't practice a subjective science, I'll be very clear with all of you, then you don't know a subjective science. If you don't practice chapter 10, for those who have a high rigor towards a subjective science, then you don't know chapter 10. You can tell people you know how to chant chapter 10, but you don't know chapter 10. When you engage with articles, instead of seeing the article, what should you feel? I shared this yesterday, I shared this on Sunday. You should feel existence, good. When you engage with beings, you see them, but what should you feel? Joy. And when you engage with circumstances, you see it. Right now I can hear a train, but what should I feel? Awareness. Because of awareness, my brain works, my ears work, I can hear a train. That train depends on my awareness, not the other way around. From inspiration to application. Your application was to choose which of the 18 verses was most moving to you. You can share in the chat now. I've read some insights on our website. For me, it is verse 22, the second of the 18, because Sri Krishna shares, amongst the senses, I am the mind. Amongst the intelligent, I am the intellect. So Sri Krishna, intellectually I know is my spirit, but he's also sharing, he's my intellect, he's my mind. Do you feel the implication of that? Every thought you have is him. Every decision you make is him. When we look for where is God, that's us trying to see correct, and we're denying feeling. Your application for this morning, out of the 65 pointers, I want you to contemplate on one of these. So as an example, if you take out of the bodies of water, I am the ocean. Then find that. Find a body of water and contemplate on this body of water has come from the ocean, but that ocean has come from existence, awareness, joy. So contemplate on one of these 65 pointers. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.